Patrick, how the heck are you? Welcome to 2024 and a brand spanking new season of the Airgun Geeks podcast.
I am doing well. I am very excited for what this year's bringing already. Besides this new platform that you've brought us and get to play with. So things are going very well. I'm excited for the future.
Yes, the Airgun Geeks are now brought to you by StreamYard. That's going to be our platform for 2024. It allows us to record and in HD and get a better visual product for you. It also helps reduce some of our load editing wise because it's even easier for us to get the audio only segment out and all of that fun stuff. So lots of positives here. It makes integration with the guest really easy to add extra graphics and stuff while they're talking if they need it. It really is a solid solution. And Pat, all of this really comes to us by way of a really big innovation for the Airgun Geeks this year. And that is, honest to gosh, paying sponsors. How about that?
I don't even know what to say. I am so grateful. When people started calling us, I'm like, you want it? Okay. Hey, we've been, we just celebrated our 3rd birthday. And I'm like, well, that's a heck of a present to be getting that, Bill, we're actually wanted. People actually listen to us and want to give us money to tell more stuff.
They actually are willing to pay us for this stuff. How unique is that?
It's so exciting. And I remember the first time that I met you 3 years ago, pretty much. It'd be next March we met you. And it was like, who's this guy? And then we had a lovely conversation. And here we are 3 years later. Great technology, good information, and some more exciting news that we're going to talk about here in a second.
Yeah, you're darn right. And let's go ahead. Yeah, how about that? Huh? Wow. Let's go ahead and roll our sponsor ad for 2024 and give credit where credit is due. These guys are really the wind beneath our sails at this point. You ready?
I'm ready.
Hello, fans. We're taking a brief moment to recognize and show our appreciation for the incredible support of our sponsors. Their commitment not only fuels our content, but also ensures we can bring you the very best of the airgun world. Firstly, a huge shout out to Southern Precision Air Weapons. Ken is a master of hard-hitting airgun tunes that deliver unrivaled accuracy. Moving on, we extend our gratitude to High Pressure Pneumatics. Be sure to check out what Tom has going on at his store in Michigan and online as well. Let's not forget the remarkable contribution of Donnie FL. Their innovations in suppressors have revolutionized the experience in the field, combining stealth with performance. A special thanks to GX Compressors as well for their robust and efficient compressors that are an absolute game changer in the pneumatic technology and convenience. And lastly, we express our sincere appreciation for Sabre Tactical. Their tactical gear is not only about strength and durability, it's about taking your airgun experience to the next level. We proudly stand alongside these titans of the airgun industry and invite you, our valued listeners, to explore their outstanding offerings. Supporting our sponsors is directly supporting the Airgun Geeks, enabling us to continue delivering you the content you love and trust. Thank you for being the most essential part of our journey. Your engagement and support make all of this possible. Until next time, stay tuned and keep supporting those who make the Airgun Geeks a reality. There you go, Pat.
Wow.
We got advertising now. How about that?
That's crazy. Yeah, it's still so unbelievable. But if it wasn't for the listeners and the viewers, we wouldn't be here because, we would just be two guys talking to no one.
Yeah, well, we'd be on the other end of the phone to each other. So yeah. I noticed, Pat, you've got a new background there. It looks like you've got some giant iguanas hunting you down.
Yeah. Well, the inside joke around the house is, this is Bob and this is Helen. They're just checking things out. They're the only 2 living iguanas around the air guns that I have right now.
So all of the rest of them have been extinguished.
They've gone extinct.
Very good. Very good. Well, we've got a really fun episode. This is our first episode of the 2024 season, and we're going to get to talking about some of the crossover between the firearms world and the airgun world, and the outdoor sports in general, and how they cross over with airgunning, and why that's important to the guy who's tuned in just for airguns. We hope you'll open your mind and open your heart to seeing the larger picture and where we fit into the whole outdoor world. I had the distinct honor of going to SHOT Show this year, mostly due to the grace of our sponsors, and being able to get around the SHOT Show and see all of that amazing content for us in the 2024 season really got me thinking there's a lot of synergy between the outdoor world and air guns, and how neat to take an episode and look at that, where that crosses over, and where that kind of geeks me out as an air gunner, and probably does you as well, Pat, because you're also in a business that also deals with the outdoor world and the iguana issues in Florida.
Most definitely. But wait a minute. I'm not going to let you breeze by. You're telling me the Airgun Geeks were at SHOT Show in Vegas?
Yeah, they were.
Seriously?
I was.
Well, everyone knows I got to take care of Bonnie and what's going on, but I'll definitely be there next year. But not only just attending, but attending underneath our name as media.
Yep.
And didn't something else big happen? Didn't we get invited to Iowa?
So while I was at the SHOT Show, I got an invite to go to Iowa. And, I've been to SHOT Show before, so that wasn't a new experience this year. But Iowa will definitely be a new experience for me. And for those that don't know, SHOT Show is amazing and it's huge. And I mean, I think I walked over 20 miles in 4 days just to see it all. But Iowa is a little bit more tailored towards the air gunner. So I'm excited and I'm stoked to get to see a lot of our high-end European manufacturers of air guns and air gun related stuff. And I'll also be at Iowa. I'll be at the GX compressors booth, and I'll also be out on the floor harvesting interviews for my brother Patrick for use here on the Airgun Geeks podcast. And, I don't want to give up too much of my travel for this winter, because I think we need an episode coming up just to cover SHOT Show and what I saw there, and cover, some of the other travel that I've done in preparation for this 2024 season. And it hasn't been inconsequential. It was, California to Detroit, and then down to South Carolina, where I actually got introduced to our guest tonight while I was in South Carolina. And then from there back to California, and then to Nantong, China, and then Taizhou and Shenzhen, China, and then back to the US and down to Vegas. So I have logged some miles in this very wet winter in California. So we're going to cover that more in a future episode. But for tonight, we are going to talk about a very interesting aspect of the firearms, and now becoming more of an issue in the airgun world as well. And part of what our guest is going to talk about is actually has to do with insurance, in case you ever need to exercise your right to defend yourself and your castle and your property and those you care about. And with that, I would like to go ahead and introduce our guest, his name is Scott Bauer. And Scott's going to introduce himself and where he's from. And then we're going to have kind of a broader conversation about the crossover between the airgun space and the firearms world. You ready, Pat?
I'm ready. I'm excited.
All right. Let's get him in here. There he is. There he
Hey,
is.
how are you guys doing tonight?
Pretty
Doing
good.
well.
Pretty good. We're gonna get you on the big screen. There you go.
All right. Well, like Bill said, my name is Scott Bauer, and I'm with Right to Bear and Right to Bear Association. And we're a company that's we're formed so that folks that have to defend themselves have a legal defense in their corner to face the oncoming, legal hurdles and circumstances that follow any sort of defensive use of force.
So Scott, we could take a look at that real briefly. So you're in a situation where you've been called upon to defend yourself, and you think, okay, I won this battle. I'm in the clear. And the answer is no, you're not.
Yeah, depending on definitive.
Depending on your prosecutor in that area and your local laws and the mood of those people, this could be just the start of your battle. Is that a correct assessment?
I think you're right on. You're right on. The way that people view the use of a firearm can vary greatly depending on what part of the country you're in, whether you're in an election cycle. So many things can sway the opinions and such of that. So, we're here to kind of step up to the plate to tell folks, for associate members of ours, if they've found themselves in that predicament where they've had to use whether it's a firearm or any legal weapon to defend themselves, we're here to step up and make sure that they get the best defense possible as we navigate through the legal system. It's not always cut and dry, and it's not something that can be summed up like you see in a 30 or 45-minute TV show.
So does that cover you just for the criminal aspect that could erupt from this, or are there other coverages as well?
So we cover our members both criminally and civilly. As usually what can happen is you go through a criminal case. There's typically a civil suit that's going to follow shortly thereafter. And so it's important that we cover our members in both cases.
Very good. I will disclose right now to our listeners that not only am I really excited about Right to Bear as a product, because it is an insurance product, but I'm a customer. I am an honest to gosh paying customer. I wanted to be able to speak about this from a free and clear perspective, in that, I paid for this. I didn't get it for free. I bought my own membership into this club, and it's not really a club. It's actually it's a solution. And, bravo, you use self-defense, you saved your life. Now, how about let's save your house from getting mortgaged to the teeth to keep your silly butt out of jail. And, that it doesn't seem really fair for the guy who's got to go through all that. But, I understand that this is the system that we live in, and, we need to do what we need to do. But, Scott, there are other benefits that come with membership to Right to Bear as well. Is that not true?
Yeah, we put out newsletters. We want to, help impart training to our members. One of the biggest pushes we've had is kind of self-awareness, or not self-awareness, but just awareness when you're out and about. Making sure you're aware of your surroundings and being more versed in what the laws are. Not that you need to be able to cite them, but to understand kind of how things work in your particular case and predicament. Also, with the membership itself, though, so some of the add-ons, or not add-ons, but some of the things that are part of the program itself, we have some psychological support, because as you can imagine, if you find yourself having to go through a defensive situation, it would probably be a good idea to take some time and speak with, a counselor, a therapist, just to make sure that you're properly digesting and breaking down what happened, and mitigating any kind of further mental issues that might happen that could come along with that.
Yeah, because I think a lot of us have, if we've been in the civilian sector, the odds that we've had to deal with that very real and present threat of being in a self-defense situation aren't coming at it from the same perspective as someone like Pat. Pat was in law enforcement. Pat was worked for a sheriff's department for some time, and he actually had to face those decisions for real, and he knows what it's like to have gone through that. Pat, what do you think about being able to have access to that, the more mental aspect of care after an event?
Well, there's actually two parts. So mental is very, very important. But back when I was a sheriff's deputy, I had the protection of the sheriff's office. So I did my job. I'd go fight. I was given a lawyer to protect me, so forth and so on. And then when I retired from that, it was like there was nothing that I knew of. I'm like, you need to be really, really careful, because you pull that trigger, even though you're justified, there's all that other stuff that you just said, Scott, that you have to go through. Not even getting to the psychological part. You're going to get the gun confiscated from you. You're going to get, possibly arrested and booked, and they're just all that stuff. And knowing what to say, what to do, how to handle the situation. Because when Bill introduced me to your product that you have, your insurance policy, I was like, this is fascinating. This is actually something I was looking for. So I'm digging into it also. Bill got excited and jumped into it. And I guess we'll say, he's the guinea pig, but I'm really impressed with what I'm seeing. But the psychological side is vital, because one, we don't go out wanting to do any harm to anyone, but especially today's society and what's coming into our country, the odds of being involved in that situation that we're talking about right now, whether it's with a firearm or your air gun, because a lot of people using air guns as self-defense, same stuff's going to happen.
Or a baseball bat or a knife or
a stick, a cane, whatever. It is vital. So, and we'll get into I was like, well, I wonder how much this stuff costs. We'll talk about that in a little bit, but it's not bad.
No, and I think you touched on a couple of key important things. And, first and foremost, obviously the legal defense is front and center of what the program is. And something you said, Patrick, really, I think resonates and should be kind of echoed again, which is when you're with the police department or at the sheriff's office, you have an attorney that you could talk with should something like that happen. In situations when you're just a pure civilian and something does happen, someone comes into my house and I have to make that decision in a split second, moment to defend my life, to defend my family's life. The next thing I need to have is that attorney there for me, being that, law abiding and I want to do the right thing. Sometimes the right thing for a citizen to do is to not necessarily not answer the questions of the police that show up, because you don't know what frame of mind you're in. And so by having that attorney that you can call right then and there after you've called 911 to establish that you've been attacked, given them your name and location, you hang up and you dial the attorney. You're on the phone with the attorney right then when you call that hotline. And so they will help walk you through, hey, make sure if the scene is secure, put your gun down, maybe unload it. The last thing you want is to have an officer show up at your place and you've got a gun in your hand. I mean, it's nothing, no knock against the police whatsoever, but you have to understand what they're walking into. And Patrick, you could probably talk much deeper into this. You're coming up and there's a guy with a gun in his hand. You don't know who that person is. And so what people need to understand is that the police are not there to judge right or wrong. They're there to preserve the scene and to, make sure that everything's safe and clear. It's the legal system that determines who's right and wrong. And that's where the attorney comes in. But having that attorney there will help guide you to say, look, you're not being difficult with the police not to answer questions. You're just going to talk with your attorney first, and so there are several hurdles you have to get through when you go through a situation like this. The attorney is the first one that you want on your side. And then down the road is when you go and take advantage of that psychological support as well.
It's a lot like a coach. You got to listen to the coach, because as American citizens, you can plead the fifth. You can say nothing. especially when they read you your Miranda rights, that you just stop talking and let the lawyer talk, because they're called excited utterances for a reason, and you do not want to do them. Just zip the lip, and just, if they arrest you, they arrest you. Just go through the process. But since you have your coach, aka that attorney, I think it would definitely take a lot of the psychological out of it, and the fear. So that's like a big thing that I saw reading up on it, and just to echo what you just said, yeah.
Now, one thing that I found interesting, Scott, as I was looking at this, you know, sometimes when you get insurance policies, right, they if you get one on your car and they're like, hey, you know what, you got to go to our body shop because our body shop is going to do this at a price point that we agree with. So you've got to use our body guy, and you know what you're going to get. You're going to get the least amount of work possible to get your car to the point where you're going to believe that it's fixed. It doesn't necessarily mean it was done well. And that's one thing that really intrigued me about Right to Bear, in that you get to pick your attorney who's going to be the guy that you're calling and you're talking to. Is that correct?
Well, to represent you in court, you certainly can have your own attorney. As far as the attorney hotline, it is one that we've contracted with to answer that phone to help navigate those pieces. But it's a good point that you bring up, is that if you already have an attorney that you want to protect or cover you in court, you can certainly do that. I know for me, I don't know what to look for in an attorney, because when you talk about an attorney, there's multiple different disciplines to be an attorney, much like being a doctor.
Mm-hmm.
You don't go to a foot doctor if you got a heart problem. Excuse me. So you want to make sure that the attorney you have is well versed in self-defense law, and that's a key and a very important thing. It's much like people that go to DIW or DWI attorneys. They're versed in the laws and know the kind of how the system works with that. So if you don't have an attorney, that's perfectly fine. We've got attorneys that are ready to stand up and defend you in court.
Excellent.
That's good to know. Yeah.
So, Scott, I know you're kind of a newcomer to the airgun game, and a lot has changed in the last 5 or 10 years, especially the last 5 years. Power levels have gotten much, much higher, and there are companies that are now actually marketing air guns for defensive use. Now, I'm not going to get into that part of the discussion, because I know there are individuals in our demographic that cannot legally own a firearm for different reasons, and they gravitate towards an air gun solution. Me personally, I'm not real wild about it. I want to know that when I get to pushing that button on the firearm, I want to know that something's going to happen that puts me on the positive end of the equation. So for me, the thought of having a leaky O-ring or something like that doesn't fill me with a lot of excitement for air guns in the self-defense arena. But there are some more intelligent designs that use CO2, where the CO2 reservoir isn't breached until the moment you're engaging the weapon. So there's no chance for catastrophic leakage over time. It's going to be charged, ready to go when you need it. But a lot has happened with air guns and the energy level that they represent. And a lot has happened in the hunting world as well, all across America, where air guns are now becoming more and more accepted in a lot of areas for hunting in the U.S. And, Scott, what is your experience or perspective on the air gun world coming from the more firearm side of things?
That's a great question. So, I would guess as most kids growing up. I had a BB gun. They were fun, and
Was it a Daisy or a Crossman? Come on, you're among friends.
It was a Crossman. It was one that looked like a Luger, and it was CO2 powered.
Oh, okay.
And so one day, me and a friend from school had the bright idea of let's get in a BB gun fight. And we're like, yeah, that sounds fun. Of course, he had the pump action. And I thought, I got the drop on him. He doesn't know that I got a semi-automatic right here. And so one day we decided to have our little battle. And he popped up from around a bush, and I let loose about 5 or 6. And all I could hear was, ooh, ow, ooh, ow, ow. And then he finally got one BB off to me, and I heard it kind of whizzing by me. I was like, okay, I've had enough of this. So that was my first, I guess, foray into air guns, if you want to call it that, right? Fast forward many, many, many years later, and as with all things, when you cruise YouTube, I started seeing guys hunting those iguanas that are behind Patrick there in Florida. And I was like, what is this? And they weren't talking, .177. They were talking a little bit bigger caliber. And it was just amazing to see what they could do. And of course, nowadays, I live a little bit more out in the country here, and still don't want to have to shoot a gun if I see a varmint or a snake or whatever it may be. And so I was like, man, what could I do instead? And I was thinking, well, I got the shovel. And I went, no, wait a minute, I got an air gun. So I actually got, and I don't know anything about air guns, right? So I'm the newbie here. So I got a Umarex pistol. It's a CO2 powered. It's got the little magazine that you can load 8 shots into. And I was like, this will work. Well, then I got to reading more about it. And I think I had a conversation with you that turned me on to another actual air rifle, a more legitimate one. I was like, this is impressive. When you see 22 caliber and up on air guns, holy cow, that's just, to me, it's just really impressive. It's really, I guess the science and technology behind it is just really interesting to me.
Yeah, there's been a lot of progress, not only on the power side, but also on the accuracy and repeatability side. The core of any air gun is how well it can meter each one of those doses of air that it's putting behind the pellet. And that requires a somewhat complex dance between a pressure vessel and a regulator to keep that pressure consistent, and then a valve that releases exactly the same amount of air each time. Otherwise, you're going to get a radically different elevation every time you shoot if that velocity is changing. And the other part of it too is as we learned from the firearms world, the resonance of the barrel. People think, oh, it's a steel barrel. It's perfectly rigid. No, when that gun is actuated, even under the power levels of a even meager air gun, that rifle barrel might as well be a noodle. I mean, it's whipping around. There's an oscillation that happens. And depending on where that energy level is versus the tune length of the barrel and the pellet that you're using, all of those things conspire together to get this accuracy, right? And that's really where air guns have leapt forward quite a bit in the last 5 years. Would you agree, Pat?
That barrel technology, and what really, really changed it about, I have to say 15 years ago, was ammunition with JSB. They drastically changed the accuracy of the gun. And then you got into the whole rifling and what type of rifling to use. But the pellet itself from JSB drastically changed the accuracy in the air gun. And then it just went from there to what you see now. Air strippers built in, externally adjustable guns.
Yes.
Where you could do it on the fly. That was, I think I want to say FX started that about 6 years ago.
Yeah.
Maybe a little more. It's right around there where things were external. Because before you'd have to take it apart like the Marauder, degas it, and have all that fun. And the Marauder was the king for years. It's an oldie, but it's a goodie. So I'm not knocking Benjamin. But to do what we could do on these newer guns, as far as adjusting on the fly, it's crazy. And to bridge that, we should talk adjusting an air gun, tuning it is what we call it, is equivalent to controlling your powder charge. So a couple more grains or a couple less grains to get that feet per second. So at the end of the day, firearms and air guns, I always say, are brother and sister. One just uses a chemical reaction and create PSI, chamber pressures, versus a bottle going through a regulator, which regulates how much air is behind each poof of air, but it's still pressure. So that's a big bridge that I always try and have with people when I'm explaining, oh, those are just BB guns or air guns. No, you're not understanding. You're doing the same thing with your firearm, because it's a perishable skill, pulling trigger, aiming, everything builds up with harmonics. All of that is the same.
The one I love, Pat, when you tell somebody I'm in the air gun world, they're like, "Oh, you mean airsoft?"
They're like, I'm like, oh no, I shoot you with my stuff, you will die. Yeah.
Not what I'm talking about.
Yeah, and then the new thing, just to go another bridge, is slugs. So now we're really like a firearm, and you're talking 100, 200, 300, 400, 500 yards accurately.
Yeah.
So that's the progression right now. It's crazy.
I didn't know that. Didn't know they did slugs.
Yeah, you pay for it. It's very expensive. That's another thing. Bill and I get a lot of questions. Well, how much did you pay for your air gun? You know how many firearms I can get with that? Yeah, but I can shoot mine in the backyard. Can you shoot yours? And then
and legally at that. So
correct. And it does depend on your area, because some towns do look at them as firearms. But what was the thing we were talking about? Oh, shooting a 177 at 100 yards is equivalent to shooting, I think it's a 308 at 1,000. So all of your dynamics come into play to do that. So if you get your 177 and do groups with that, and you go switch over to your 308, you're getting all that practice in, and then now you're reaching really far out. And a lot of people have come back, doubting Thomas's, and then they're like, okay, this has got something because of ammo costs and whatnot. So
I can tell you, as somebody who came from the firearms world myself, the thing that geeked me out was, seeing what these modern air guns will do in relationship to accuracy. Being able to throw a piece of paper out at 50 yards and do single hole groups all day long at that range, that geeks me out, because I know that if I do my job as the shooter, the gun's going to perform because it proved it. Mm-hmm. And the ability of having that quietness too, that is inherent with the air guns. Now, granted, once you get into much higher power levels, you start to lose that ability. But being able to put a moderator on there without going through the whole silly tax stamp thing and all of that, that's game changing. Is there somebody who's got a lot of background noise in their environment? It's Scott.
It's okay.
It's all right. So, for me, air guns really opened up quite a lot of opportunities there for exploring and exploiting that accuracy, and giving me the benefit of being able to practice in my yard and not have to go to the range. I mean, you think about, what does it take to go to the range? Well, you got to load the truck up. You got to get your ammo. If you're a reloader, you already spent a few hours preparing that ammunition to take with you to the range to test out. I can go right out the door of my shop and be on my outdoor range, and I'm in California. It's not exactly a hospitable area for participating in launching of projectiles of any kind. We've got 100 Karens waiting behind every tree, every giant redwood tree here in the Santa Cruz Mountains, waiting to tell the police that I'm up to no good, But honestly, they don't even know I'm out on my range when I'm out on my range, because it's the level of gun that I'm using for varminting here on my farm. I think the most powerful one I have is right around 100 foot-pounds. And that's my Coyote Control solution. That is my Impact Mark III in 30 caliber. But that'll put dogs to sleep very effectively at 50 to 75 yards, which is where I'm going to use that solution.
Quietly.
Yeah. Oh yeah. 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 It's got a great big old Donnie FL on there. Thanks to Donnie FL for being a sponsor. But we were on this whole self-defensive discussion there for a while, and I do want to point out, I want to clear the air and keep the Federal Trade Commission off of our backs, and point out to our listeners and our viewers that we are affiliates of marketers for this product. I actually, Scott's leadership reached out to me while I was visiting in South Carolina and said, "Hey, would you be interested in doing some affiliate marketing?" And I'm like, I would, and let me take a look at your product and see if I agree with it. Not only did I agree with it, I jumped in with both feet. And Pat and I are going to put up a code here. And what I want to point out is that it is, this is the website where you can find it. It's Right to Bear. You can get the coverage today. And, one of the things with the coverage, if you just buy a month of it, that's fine if you just want to test it. But honestly, you're going to forget to renew it. Why not sign up for a year and know that you're covered for the year, and then reinvestigate this down the road? And, I don't think you're going to benefit as much from this product if you're not covering yourself in the long term, because, nobody's planning to get in a fight. Nobody's planning to have to defend themselves. So cover yourself for a decent length of time and not worry about it. Then just put it to bed and not know that you've got coverage if it ever comes to that. And, as a gift from the Airgun Geeks, we've got a discount code for you, Geeks10. It's going to get you 10% off your 1 year subscription or a month. It doesn't matter. You'll get the same discount. And the thing that's important to the FTC is that Pat and I both tell you that, we do get a piece of that. And we only will talk about products that we believe in, that we participate in. We're not going to be shills for anyone. We believe in this product. We believe in this message, and we believe that it is a valid way to help you keep what's valuable to you, your life, your loved one's life, your home, all of those things. This is a great solution and not a big investment for the coverage that you get. And honestly, I mean, your odds are pretty low that you're going to need it, but better to have it and not need it than to need it and not have it. And, Scott, is there anything else you want to add to the,
Yes. Yeah. So, kind of what you just said there at the end, it's better to have it and not need it than need it and not have it. Recently moved homes, and when I moved into this house, I got a standby generator, right? And it's one of those things where if the power goes out, it's really nice to be able to have that thing run so that life is disrupted as little as possible, right? And it's one of those things where they're not inexpensive, but I'd rather have it and not need it than need to not have it. Now, I'll take that a little step further and tell you that, after working in this industry for a number of years, there are stories true to life that folks, they receive the information about our program. They were going to go think it over. In between the time of thinking it over and signing up, they had an incident happen, a life-altering incident. And then the question came, well, can I sign up and you guys can protect me? I'm sorry. You have to be a member before that incident occurs. And so, you're taking that annual fee to cover the cost of just one incident is in the tens of thousands, if not more, dollars in terms of attorney's fees. Why would you not protect? I say protect your investment in your life savings, in your tuition funds for your children's colleges. The annual fee covers that. I mean, if you think about it that way, it is a form of insurance to make sure that you protect what's important, but also it doesn't make you have to forego all the things you've worked hard for in life just to pay to prove your innocence.
Yep.
Couldn't agree more.
So what were you going to say, Scott? I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, go ahead.
One of the things that we've done in the past on the Airgun Geeks podcast is we've had a little sticker giveaway, and Pat had a bit of a surge there at the end of 2023, where more people came forward and voted for Patrick, and we want to invite everyone to definitely be able to get involved and get an Airgun Geeks sticker. And to do that, you can email the email address here on your screen, which for those that are listening is Airgun Geeks plus the plus sign plus patrick@gmail.com. And that will be a vote for Pat. And if you send him your mailing address, he will pop a sticker in the mail and get that to you. And if you want to vote for the current champion of this little challenge, which Pat outshot me, I'm going to give him that. But I think I got him on this one. And if you want to vote for me, it's airgunsplusbill@gmail.com. And I will get you a sticker, which, by the way, I have to say I have to order more stickers because I'm getting low on them, Pat. I don't know how your supply is holding up, but I'm running awful low here. So
I've been putting a few out at the competitions. So there's a demand for the Airgun Geek stickers. So yes.
And if you want to vote for the person that keeps this whole show going behind the scenes, you can vote for Bonnie. And for that, you just use the airgungeeks@gmail.com address and tell Bonnie that you love her most, and give her your address, and she'll get you a sticker as well. Scott, I don't think Scott has any stickers to give us.
I don't have any stickers, guys. Sorry, you beat me to it.
Well, you guys do have a really cool logo, so you might want to hassle Perry there and get some stickers in the works.
Get our sticker game going there.
Yeah. But I think I've covered us with the FTC and letting them know that we are definitely doing a little affiliate marketing with this, but not because we're in this for making a ton of money, but because we believe in this product. Correct. And we believe it is a way to protect ourselves and our viewers and our listeners in a situation that does not have to be firearm related. I think Scott alluded to that earlier, that this protects you against other types of self-defense as well. I do have a question for Scott. Scott, what if it's fisticuffs? I mean, what if it's, hey, some guy came after me and threw a punch and I had to get involved. Is it the same thing?
So Probably for good reason. I don't get to make those determinations. But when the leadership team and the attorneys look at everything in its totality, that's when they determine what's going on. And I believe, you're gonna have to check with the attorney, but I believe it really boils down to this: if you're defending your life, at that point, there's not much that isn't a legal weapon. We kind of liken it to the old joke is, well, they came crashing through the door and I grabbed the frying pan. You're not going to walk down the street with a frying pan in your hand, but if it's someone that is there to do you severe bodily harm, great bodily harm, that frying pan is probably your best friend. And I wouldn't try and make the decision, should I use this or not? Defend your life and we'll figure it out in the end. We'll get it sorted when this is over, kind of thing.
Maybe we could ask Matt over at Demolition Ranch to do a little comparison of the kinetic energy of a frying pan versus a baseball bat versus a 500 Smith & Wesson X-frame revolver, just to understand where they all play out. Because I'm pretty sure the kinetic energy of a cast iron frying pan in the right hands is probably pretty dang high.
Yeah. I was going to say that. Yeah. It depends on what cast iron. Is it stainless steel? What do we got? We'll call them different calibers of frying pans.
Yeah. Basically, if you've got an aluminum one, you're screwed. Just put that away and get in the fetal position, because it's probably not going to help you.
What we don't want is for people to think that you only have to have a gun to have this program. That couldn't be further from the truth. The fact of the matter is that we're there to protect folks that have to defend their lives. And it's sad that we have to think it to that level these days. But if you look around, the world has gotten to that place where it can be a little bit more dangerous these days than it was a few years ago. And so if you're not comfortable around a firearm, but you have something that is legal to use to defend yourself, that's okay too. We just want people to understand that the program is there. We want to not make them make that hard decision of, can I afford the aftermath of defending myself or not?
Right.
Defend your life. Life is precious. You only get one of them. Life of the family member is so very precious. Don't let that be a second thought. Become a member of Right to Bear Association and put that peace of mind in your pocket to know, look, if this has to happen, I've got Right to Bear Association to stand there and to help guide me through this and to defend me in a court of law.
And that website for our listeners is all one word: protectwithbear.com. That'll get you to the website. And again, the code for the discount from the Airgun Geeks is Geeks10 for 10% off that fee. And I signed up for a year because I don't want to have to think about this every month. It's not something that I want to try and see if I need it. That's not the way I think you need to approach this. This is, do I believe this coverage is worthwhile? And my answer to that question is, heck yes, I do. Yeah. And even though they are a sponsor, and even though we are affiliate marketers of this, we're paying the same as anyone else for our coverage. I wouldn't have it any other way. I think it's important. So I will say that, Scott, to the credit of the company, my purchase experience was absolutely seamless. It was super, super easy to get on, answer the questions, and provide the information they needed, and then pay and have it done. So kudos to you guys for that.
Thank you.
Pat, anything you want to add from the law enforcement / you also came from the firearms world first. Mm-hmm. You were a firearms guy that became an air gunner later on. Anything else you've got for this episode?
Just through my life as in law enforcement. It's better to have something and not need it than need it and not have it. So this answers this for the civilian world, because like I said, you know, for example, a current event going on here in Florida, was a trooper chasing someone and they ended up getting into an accident. He didn't plan on doing any of that. He planned on catching the bad guy, and off you go. You know, you go out to dinner with the wife and the family, and all of a sudden you have to defend the family. And at that point in time, now you have to deal with the system. And to have a coach, a guide through that system, to me it's invaluable. In fact, like I said before, it's been a concern and been on the front burner since I've retired. And God, it's been about 8 years now from law enforcement. What if? And I carry every day. I was like, well, I'm not finding anything, and everything's been extremely expensive to have, if you would, the lawyer in the back pocket. And then Bill came up with this, and I'm just like, okay, this is good.
And you just jogged a little rock loose that created an avalanche in my head, Pat. You touched on something that Perry is in the management at Protect with Bear, and what he said to me was that despite the incredible restrictions on carry in California, the provider is still providing coverage in California for us California carriers. Now, granted, I don't carry off my property because for me, you know, I've had a carry permit in every state I've lived in except California, because, you know, when we finally got the ruling that said, well, you have to allow carry permits, then they put so many restrictions on them, it pretty much knocked it into the Stone Age. So it hasn't been that attractive from you know, going through the effort and getting that card. But that being said, there's a lot of work being done by a lot of legal resources. California Rifle and Pistol, GOA, all of those organizations are fighting every day to get the constitutionality of our laws in California resolved, and getting the Supreme Court or even the circuit courts to agree on what is legitimate and what isn't legitimate regarding carrying in California. So I'm hopeful. I mean, I moved to Illinois and I thought there's no way I'll ever have a carry permit in Illinois. I got a carry permit in Illinois. And of course I moved to California a month later and they're like, what, where are you going? You just got your carry permit. I'm like, oh yeah, I figure I'll move to another state where I can't get one and see if we can make it happen there. So, you know, I think we're on a path to, even those of us in California, you know, again, this doesn't just cover you for concealed carry. And I can still carry on my farm, and I have. I've had situations where we've had California's favorite flower stolen in some high profile chase events happen in the Santa Cruz Mountains. And, you know, I got word through the radio that, you know, I am also a ham radio operator, that we had no good nicks roaming around my neck of the woods who were on the run and highly motivated and possibly armed. Well, I can't ignore my animals on my farm. I have to be out there. I have to take care of them. So the natural conclusion is to get the carry gun out and make sure that that's on my hip. And it's perfectly legal here in my situation to do that. And by gosh, if I had to use it, you know, before I got my coverage, I I could have forfeited everything in deciding to protect that which was most dear to me. And now I don't have to worry about that as much. I still have to worry about delivering that projectile where it needs to go, and all of those things that have to happen to make that happen. And, you know, to that, I would like to add, if you're, you know, there's a lot of new firearms owners across the United States. Gun ownership is up to levels that I don't know that it's ever been at before over the last 4 or 5 years. And I know I get asked a lot, hey, Bill, I'm getting a gun for home protection, or I'm getting a gun for personal protection. What should I get? I'm like, well, the first thing you need to do is you need to understand that you need to train with that gun, and you need to be proficient at using it, because the worst thing you could have happen is to be in a situation where you need to use that and you're not mentally ready, or you're not drilled and skilled in order to make that happen. So do be sure that part of your solution is also investing in that training. Don't think you're John Rambo or John Wick coming out of the box, because none of us are. In fact, I've seen Keanu Reeves train, and it's ridiculous to me what that guy can do with a pistol in real life. I mean, those aren't special effects in a lot of his movies. He really is that talented, but he's that talented because he drills and he trains and he invests that time and he pays the dues to get there. And I'm not saying you need to be John Wick, but you also don't want to be Barney Fife. That's the other side of this. And you know, you don't want to have to go to Sheriff Andy to get your ammo either. So do pay attention, and do get yourself trained, and do be ready to bring the hammer if you need to bring the hammer.
All right. Well, we always do this. Do you have any final words, Scott, that you feel is on your heart to give to the listeners and viewers?
No, I think a lot of good information has been given, and really just to piggyback on what Bill just said is, you know, if you're going to be new to the firearms industry, even to air guns, if you're going to get an air gun, you've got the tool. Now you got to build the skill, and so to that end, you nothing replaces. The only way you get good is repetition. Just like any golfer, even the pro golfers, right? They still go and practice that swing. Shooting a gun is about repetition, and it's about doing the things right, do them until you can't do them wrong. You know, will I ever get there? Maybe not, but I'm going to keep trying, because that's the only way you got to do it. Because when the adrenaline's pumping, you're hoping that your muscle memory just takes over.
Yep.
You know?
True.
And I think you said it all right there, Scott. You know, it's a journey. It's not a destination. You need to keep walking down that road. Don't be comfortable where you are. Keep moving.
Right.
Yep. And I'll end that with, I'd sooner be judged by 6 than carried by 12.
Quite true. Quite true.
So, well, Scott, I want to thank you for taking time out of your busy day away from your family in the evening here, and giving us this information and this opportunity, and doing what you and the corporation you work for the people. You know, I want to say thank you, and I know that those that look into this will know it's a good idea to get and a good product to have. So
I appreciate it. And I want to thank you and Bill for having me on the podcast, being able to talk to your listeners. You know, I know we just personally enjoy connecting with the folks that are in that TOA community and letting them know that we're there fighting for them, and that we support our right to bear arms.
And for all of our listeners and viewers and everyone, please share the holy crap out of this episode and get this message out to the masses, because you know, the more of our camp we can protect, the better job we've done. You know, it is about protecting our own, And this is a very effective way of doing that. So do help us get the word out. Share this far and wide. Doesn't have to be with just airgun guys. It can be with your firearms friends too. We need to get rid of the silos. We need to open the doors, and we need to get this message out to everyone. So do share the holy heck out of this, and also give us some feedback as well on how you like the new format for the Airgun Geeks. As far as the graphics and the audio and all of that stuff go, do give us feedback so we know that we're, what we need to adjust going forward and how to bring you the best quality product we can at the end of the day, because we do really strive. We're trying to make every episode better than the one before, and that's really our goal. Pat and I both have new backgrounds this year. I've got my buddy Henson up here in the Ponderosa Pine out in the Mojave Desert. Pat's got the iguana sneaking up on him in the garden in Florida. And, we're trying to up the game for you guys so that we give you enjoyable, relatable content from the airgun space every month for 2024. So do let us know. Send us an email at airgungeeks@gmail.com. Even if you don't want to vote for us, that's okay. Just send us some feedback and let us know. And do share this episode far and wide so we can get the word out about Protect with Bear and what it's all about, and how this solution can help you.
Correct. So, like always, stay geeky.
Shutterstock Music.